Today we are going to be looking at some components in Delphi. So go New, VCL, Application. Right, then let's go File and Save All. Navigate to your documents, create a new file inside there, and let's call this file, or I mean folder, tutorial 1. Right. So inside the folder of tutorial 1 we're going to save the pass file, or the unit file, as tutorial underscore u for unit. Save that, and then the project file tutorial underscore capital P for project. Okay, now let's start by changing the caption of the form. Over here in the object inspector, I'm going to change the caption of the form to components. And you'll notice at the top here that instead of saying form 1 or 2 or whatever, it is now saying components. Right, so let's go add from our palette tool over here a group box. So simply search for a group box. There it is. Going to select it, click on the form to add it. There we go. Okay, now I would like to change the font of this. Here's the font. Click on the 3 little dots. I'd like to change this to Arial. There we go, there's Arial. And Arial bold, size 11, color black, all of that seems fine. There we go. Now let's change the caption of this as well. Instead of group box 1, let's have it say input area. Okay, good. Now we would like to add some labels, so let's go search for labels here from our palette tool. There's T label. Now press the shift key on the keyboard and then select label. It'll be highlighted with this purple border, which means that if I click on the form now, it will keep adding those labels until I actually click here on deselect palette item. So now it's deselected. I can go back to the form and move these things around a bit. Something like that. Make sure they're not too much on top of each other, because right next to them we would actually like to add some edit boxes and things like that, so we don't want them to be too on top of each other. Right, now let's go search for those edit boxes that I just mentioned. Okay, here's T-edit. Let's actually press the shift key and select T-edit, and then add an edit box next to label 1, 2, and 3. And then let's go and deselect. Right, before we continue, let's actually just start renaming some of these things so they make a little bit more sense, so we know what we're doing. Okay, so label number 1. Label number 1. Let's change the caption of this to first name. There we go. And then label number 2. Actually, let's add a colon at the back of that. So first name colon. Right, label number 2. I'm going to rename this to surname. Label number 3. I forgot the colon. Then label number 3. We're going to change this to height. Colon. Label number 4, I'm going to change that to age. Right, so age colon. Right, now let me just rearrange a bit here again. Okay, something like that. Next to age, I'm not going to put a regular edit box, because age is always going to be an integer value. So for integer value, I would rather use a spin edit for the input of that. So there's spin edit, and I'm going to place that next to age. Okay, let's start changing some of the attributes of these components here as well. So edit 1, gonna take away the text for edit 1. Alright, and then I'm actually going to rename edit1 because I'm going to use edit1 in the coding. I didn't change the names of the labels or the group box because they're not going to be used in the code, but these edit boxes, which where the input will come from, I would like to change their names because I will be using this in the code. So first edit box, I'm going to call it edt name. Easy enough. Edit number 2, I'm going to change the name of edit number 2 to edt surname, and also take away the text for that. Right. Now the one that says height, I'm going to remove that text as well, and the name of this is obviously going to be edt height. Right. Now let's move to our spin edit over here. Let's change the name of the spin edit, okay, to not edt but spn. Let me just look at my notes here. Yeah, spn age. Okay, so that's done. Right, it doesn't have text because, like I said, this is an integer value. So what we are going to change instead of the text is the minimum value, which we're going to change to 12, and the maximum value we're going to change to 20. Right, that's looking good. Okay, now let's add a few more things. First, let's add a combo box. Okay, so search for combo box. And there we have that. Where do I add the combo box? Let me just check here. Right, so right under age here, go add the combo box there. Also go search for a radio group. There we go, not the radio button, but the radio group. Add that right over here. Something like that. Okay, now let's change the caption of radio group, and we'll change that to gender. Right, now we are going to have some items inside the radio group for the different radio buttons inside there. So I'm going to click these 3 little dots, and I'm going to add in the male and female, just for simplicity's sake. There we go. Right, so male and female under gender there. And then for the combo box, I'm also going to add some items. The items here are going to be for the grade. So this is going to be 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay. But I don't want it to say combo box 1. So I'm actually going to change the text of the combo box, if I can just find it over here. I'm going to change that to grade. So when you open the program, it's going to say grade there. You have to click the drop down menu to select from the items that we've created. But that'll all work perfectly fine. So let me just organize that to somewhere over there. Right, there we go. Now next, let's first go add another label. Okay, so there's label. Add that to the side over here somewhere. Okay. And let's change the caption of label 5. Let's change that to select sport. Okay. Under that, I would like you to go and add a list box. So here's our list box. Add it over there. Actually going to move up these things a little bit. Something like that. I did not mean to do that. Sorry. Okay. There we go. Just going to quickly check something for the list box here. Okay, now our list box, we're going to add some items as well. So here's items for the list box. I've got the list box selected, items, click on the three little dots. Now this time I'm going to make it say soccer, rugby, netball. Let's also add hockey, and let's also add cricket. Okay, so there are the different sports that I've got there in my list box. Okay, so then after that, let me just go back to my notes here. We would also like to add a track bar. But for the track bar, I'm also going to add another label. So let's go search for label first. Okay, so here's another label. Add it over here. Let's change the caption of label 6 to days absent, I think it was. Right, so days absent. Okay, then go search for a track bar. There's the track bar. And add that below days absent. Something like that. Okay, now for the track bar, we are also going to change a few things here. We're going to leave the minimum at 0, but the max we're going to make that 100. Okay. And then there's also a thing called position tooltip. If you scroll, you'll find it here. Just make sure you've got it selected. Make sure you've got your track bar selected to get these properties. So instead of PT none, we're going to change that to PT bottom. So as somebody is actually moving this the slider on the track bar, it will actually give them a tooltip of how many the number that they've selected for, in this case, days absent. Right. Now let's add also a checkbox. Here's our checkbox. Let's add that. Now the caption for the checkbox, I would like to change that to RCL. Okay, so you're going to select the checkbox to indicate whether or not you are RCL. Okay, that's all of the input I wanted, so I'm going to just resize the group box there a little bit. Now I'm going to add some buttons, so search here for button, with 2 T's obviously. Right, there's our first button. Let's add it here. And the caption for this, I'm going to change to extract and display. So we're going to create some code for this button where it will extract the information from our input over here and it will display it. Now for the display, I'm going to add another group box. I'm going to add it to the bottom of this. Right, something like that. And let's go ahead and add another button, but this one is called a bit button. So if you search for bit, you should find it here. And I'm going to add it to this side, line it up to the other side, something like that. Okay, now for the bit button, just go back to my notes. I'll actually change this to a close bit button. It will have this little icon next to it. So for that, under the properties, while you have it selected, you're going to go and search for the property kind. So right now it's custom. We don't want it to be custom, we want it to be close. So that changes the caption to close, and it also adds that little icon for the close. Yours might look a little bit different. I'm on Delphi 12. This is what it looks like for Delphi 12. Now, both of these buttons, I would also like to change the font. So I'm going to go and search for the font. I use the shift key to select both of them. And then here by font, I'm going to go and select that. Also change it to Arial. Also make them bold. And also 11, I think. Let me just check my notes here again. Yes. Okay, so that looks a little bit better. Let me just increase the size of this one now. And there we go. Okay. Let's change the caption of group box 2 over here. And we're going to call this, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to call this output area. Let me just double check that for you. Yes, we can change that to output area. Output area. Okay. Now let's just check on a few things here. We've changed the names of these things, I believe. Yeah, EDT name, EDT surname, and EDT height. Okay. The spin edit, we've changed that to SPN age, I believe. Where's the name now? I'm missing it. Name. There we go. SPN age. Right, so our combo box here, we should change the name of that as well, because obviously we're going to use that in the code as well. So instead of combo box 1, let's change that. Let's change the name of this to CMB grade. So CMB grade. Combo box grade. Right, let's also change our radio group over here. Going to change the name of that. Instead of radio group 1, we should call this RGB gender. So RGB gender. Right, there we go. So that's renamed, that's now renamed. Let's go to our list box, change the name of that as well. Instead of list box 1, let's go ahead and call this LST Sport. So LST Sport. Okay. And our track bar, instead of track bar 1, we're going to call this TRK days absent. Good descriptive names for our coding. Days absent. And then lastly, our checkbox. Let's change the name of our checkbox. Okay, our checkbox should be called CHK RCL. Okay, so CHK RCL. Okay, we changed the names of our buttons. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Change the name of the extract and display button from button 1. Let's change that to what did I rename it to? BTN display, I think it was. Yeah, let's call that BTN display. Right, and then our bit button, we're going to rename that as well. Actually, no, you know what? Let's leave it as it is. Okay. Now I think we're almost ready. No, let's change some of this font and stuff as well. So we still need to add a reach edit here in our output area. So let's go find a reach edit. There we go. Add that to our output area. Okay. Just actually going to change some things here. Okay, something like that. Right, now, the reach edit, we would like to change the name of that as well, obviously. So we're going to call this RED. And I think I called it, obviously, RED. Oh, RED output. Okay. RED. Oh, wow, that didn't save. Let me just try that again. red output. Okay. Okay, let's just change some of the font and styles and things in here as well. I'm going to use the shift key to select these labels and actually all of the components here. Going to try and get them all in one shot. All of these things. Okay, let me stop there before I mess something up. Alright, now let's go to font. And all of that I've selected, I don't want that to be bold. I would like it to be Arial and regular, still size 11 but not bold, black, and click on OK. Right, that looks just a little bit better, so that's a nice little heading, and the buttons are still bold, etc. I'm also going to change the font for my second group box over here. So Arial, bold, 11. Right, there we go. Okay, so let's start by adding some variables. var for our variables, and let's do the string data types first. We are going to have s first name. Okay, so this is first name. We're also going to have s surname. We are going to have s gender, as well as s sport, and then s RCL status. Okay, all of those data type string. And remember your semicolon. So s first name, s surname, s gender, s sport, and s RCL status. Now let's go to integers. We have I age. Okay, we also have I grade. And we also have I days absent. Descriptive names for our integers. And those are data type integer. Semicolon. Right, we're also going to have our height. And that will be of data type real. And semicolon. Good. Okay, so let's start assigning values and strings and things to all of our variables. So let's start with a simple one. S first name. Right. Now that'll come from edt name dot text. Nice and simple. edt.text, edt name.text is obviously string, and our variable is string, so we don't need to do typecasting, so that's done. Right, so then s surname, same kind of thing. We are going to get that from edt surname.text. Right. Now, let's see. Let's go to IH. Okay, so IH will come from our spin edit, which we called SPNH. Okay, so SPNH, and it's not dot text, but in fact value dot value. And we can put a semicolon after that. So IH is integer, SPNH dot value, not text, is also integer. So we don't need to do typecasting there either. Now let's do our height. Okay, so our height. This time we do need to do some typecasting, because if we look at our design, height is coming from a edit box. So we need to do str to float. Okay, and that'll come from edt. What did we call that? Edt height, I believe. I think it was. Yes, there it is. Edt height dot text. Right, remember all of your semicolons. Next, let's do days absent. So we've got I days absent. There it is. And we're going to get that from, let's go look at our design. We're getting that from this track bar which we made. So let's get that track bar. It was called TRK days absent. And from there we can also just extract its, no, not value, we're going to extract its position. And you'll see there that that property is also integer, so we don't need to do any typecasting here either. Right, so we've got I days absent, trk days absent dot position. That's where we're extracting that from. Okay, so next we are going to assign s gender. Okay. Now s gender, if we go to our design, comes from this little radio group that we made. Now there are two items in this radio group. You'll remember we added the items, male and female, just to keep it simple. Now if the user selects one of these, it will be known as an item index. So we need to extract the item, and to get that item we also need to know the item index. So code. We can start by typing, what was it called again? RGB, there we go, RGB gender. And let's say dot, and we're looking for one of the items from RGB gender. Now to determine which item, we're going to get some block brackets, and we are going to say RGB gender again, dot item index. So what this will do, items we're looking for from RGB gender for S gender, and to determine which item, we're getting the item index from RGB gender in the block brackets. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Right, the next one is going to be S sport. So S sport, we are going to get that from our list box. So let's go start typing the name of our list box. It's LST sport. Now for that we can also use the property item. Okay. But again we need to find, not that, we need to go find the item index. So we are going to refer again to LST sport, and we're going to say dot item index. There we go, this is sport. Next let's go get I grade. Okay, so I grade, we're getting I grade from the combo box. Okay, so again it has items, so we're going to go CMB grade dot items. Okay, so there's our items, block brackets, and again we're going to refer to CMB grade, and we are going to say dot item index. Then we get that as well. But you'll notice that we are getting a error message over here. So it says here types integer and string incompatible types. So we have a variable that's integer, and we are trying to extract it from string. So we need to do typecasting here. We need to say str to int. Okay, we need to put all of this inside those brackets. There we go. Now the next one we're going to get is going to be the RCL one. So let's go to our design here quickly. We've got a checkbox for the RCL, so that's either ticked or not ticked. So to get that assigned to our variable, we're going to use the if statement. So we're going to say if, and what was that thing called again? CHK something, CHK RCL. So if CHK RCL dot checked, in other words, if it is checked, then something must happen. So we're going to put here begin. Alright, and then for that we are going to say that S, what's that variable? RCL status, RCL status, and we're going to use single inverted commas, and we're going to say RCL member. Okay, simple as that. And remember your semicolon over there. After that, let's just go put an end here for the part that must happen if it's checked, and then we're going to begin with our else. Right, we're going to say begin for the else, and let's just indent that again. Okay, else is RCL status must say, single inverted commas, not a RCL member, and put a semicolon over there. So I hope this makes sense. We are testing if that checkbox is checked. If it is, then that's the value we are assigning to RCL status. If not, then that is the value we are assigning to RCL status. Okay, so that actually concludes all of our input. Okay, so all of this we've done now up till now is to just allocate values to all of our variables and getting the input from our user. So next we are going to actually display all of this. So let me put another comment here and call this output. Right, and just get it lined. Okay, so for the output we are actually going to use our rich edit box, which we have created. Red output. Let's just indent that. But first I would actually like to clear it. Okay, so red output dot clear. Put a semicolon. Now let me just quickly explain something about this. You could actually just clear it from here. You could go to you select your red output, go to lines over here, and then just delete it there. So it's also then cleared. Or another alternative is if you use the form and you went to events and you went on activate, double clicked here, you could also put that same line of code that we put there and just clear it then as well. But either way, you don't want it to say red output when you are working on your output over here. So we've put it now into this button, which is not ideal because it's still going to say red output all the way until you actually click the button. But it's how it is in the book, so that's the way I'm doing it. Okay, now let's go red output and let's start adding. So we're going to say lines and we're going to say add. Okay, first line of code we're going to add is the name. So we're going to go here and we're going to say name, put a nice colon, put a space, and then plus our variable, which is first name. Right, so that's our first line. Semicolon. I'm actually going to just copy this because I don't want to have to retype that whole line every single time. It will be much easier to just simply make a few changes. So I'm actually going to paste it a few times. Right, now our second line of code should say surname. So let's go and type here surname. and that should be plus S surname. Okay, that's all still good and well because all of this is still the lines are text and these variables are also text. So we don't need to do typecasting, it's still working perfectly fine. Right, so after surname, let's get our height. So height should be height plus, and over here we will have to do some typecasting because if you remember correctly, our height is actually a real value. So now we have to typecast float to str. Get some brackets for that, and we are converting our height. Okay, good. Next line of code, we would like to extract the age. So age, but this time we have to convert int to string because age is IH. So let's do int to st. Come on, str. Get our brackets for that. Okay. Just see something here? Yeah, that's fine. Right then, IH. Right, and our semicolon. Okay, so what's next? Next we have, let me actually just add a few more lines here. Okay, after age, we would like to display the gender. So we're going to say gender. And we are going to use sGender for that, so we don't need to typecast for that. I'm going to say sGender. Excuse me. Right then, we would like to get the grade. Okay, so grade, and then the grade was integer. So let's quickly do here int to string, and for that we're going to get I grade. Okay, semicolon. After grade, let's get our sport. So sport, and the sport was string, so that should be fine. Let's just type here is sport. And that's done. Right, what else do we need? We still need days absent, and we also still need the RCL status. So let's first do here days absent. Okay, and the variable for that was integer. So you should know this by now. This should be int to str. Get your brackets, and inside there you're going to go put I days absent. Right, and then the very last one is going to be prefect status or RCL status. RCL status. Okay, and that was also string, so we don't need to do typecasting. We can just go and say srcl status and put a semicolon. Right. Okay, so we seem to have an error over here. Quite simply, I forgot to put a semicolon over there. Right, nothing's underlined red. Seems good. Let's try to run that. Okay. And there we go. Right, so I'm going to type here Johan. I'm going to type here Nell, just for the sake of keeping it short. Then I'm going to say 1,75. Age, I'm going to use a spin edit, and I'm going to make that 17. Male, let's say grade 11. I'm going to choose hockey. I'm going to say days absent 10. Why not? I'm going to leave RCL blank. And that worked out perfectly. Name Johan, etc. Not a RCL member. Good times. Okay, so our program works fine, but I would like these answers, like Johan, Nell, the height, etc. I want it to be aligned a little bit to the right, so it's nice and underneath each other. It'll just look a lot better. We also need to do the code for this bit button of ours. So let's go ahead and close. And I'm going to go to design, double click here on our bit button. And for this code, I'm going to type close with a semicolon. And that's it. Code for the close button is done. Right, now let's add tab stops to our reach edit output. So I'm going to go and say red output dot, and this time I'm going to refer to the paragraph property, and I'm going to say dot, and first I'm going to give it a tab count. Right, so I would like to tell it how many tabs I want. So I would like 2 tab stops. Okay, semicolon. Now from there, let's go red output, and we say dot paragraph again. Okay, and we get our first tab. Right, now our first tab, which will always be referred to as 0, so the first tab will be 0, and you're going to say that is equal to a position. Now the position I'm going to give the first tab is 10. Okay, put a semicolon for that. Right, now another one. I'm going to go and say red output dot paragraph. That's obviously going to be my second tab, so I'm going to say dot tab again. And this time it's number 1, because in fact that is our second tab. And for this position, I'm going to go a little bit further to the right and make the position 100, semicolon. Okay, so our tab stops are now done, but it's still not added to the lines here. So I've got dot lines dot add, and I've got your name and the variable, but I need to put the tabs in between here. So to do that, I'm actually going to go and add hashtag, which is shift 3, hashtag 9, and then don't forget to then just put another plus there. Okay, so let me copy that. So hashtag 9, that's how you make your lines or your string jump to the next tab stop. So I'm just going to add that to the rest of these lines. If I can just get the mouse to work with me, please, thank you. Right, so over there. Wow, this is becoming tedious. There we go. Just add them to all of the lines, and hopefully this will line up our results very nicely. Okay, almost there. So we've got tab stops added all in there. Now let's see what that looks like. So let's run this again. And Johan. And I'm going to say no. Height still hasn't changed. Oh well, let's go a little bit taller. Why not? Age, I'm going to make that 17 again. Male. Let's go with grade 11 again. This time let's choose soccer. Days absent. Let's make it somewhere 16. And I am a RCL member this time. So right, extract and display. Look at that. That looks a lot better than what we had before. Let's also use our bit button over here. Click on close, and in fact it closed. And there you go.